U.S. defense panel has warned that the military is falling out of alignment with its key goals. The National Defense Strategy Commission submitted a report to Congress saying the U.S. needs to rebuild its military force capacity and capability in Europe. The document says that if the United States had to fight Russia in a Baltic contingency or China in a war over Taiwan, Americans could face a decisive military defeat. The Commission calls for budget caps on military spending to be removed, and it says the wars in Afghanistan, Syria, and Iraq are holding the military back, causing the U.S. to neglect so-called great power competition.
Welcome back to Fox News at Night, reporting tonight from Dallas, Texas. Well, new tonight, signs of a new era of cooperation militarily and economically between China and Russia. And their apparent common goal is pushing back on President Trump. Today, the rise in U.S.-Russia tensions was evident in the Philippine Sea, where the U.S. Navy says a Russian destroyer accelerated toward a U.S. warship and almost collided with it, saying the Russian destroyer came about 50 to 100 feet within the USS Chancellorsville. Well, the Russian military is blaming the U.S. warship for suddenly changing course.
The United States of America is suggesting that we turn the screws on China even more. You say, what's the news here, Rick Sanchez? The trade war with China has been going on for more than a year now. Can you bring me something I didn't know? You ready? Here we go. No, Mark Esper is not recommending more economic pressure. He's talking about more military pressure now. Military pressure.
It's a sight not seen since the Vietnam War. An American aircraft carrier arriving in Da Nang. A sign of growing ties between former foes and a clear message to China.
China's a strategic competitor for us, and that's the way we best phrase it, is we watch what they do. They are a competitor.
The message, the U.S. will not stand for China's claim to the South China Sea.
We're going to be exceptionally candid about the areas in which Chinese behavior concerns us. That does include Chinese behavior in the South China Sea.
China has built nearly 3,000 acres of man-made islands, fortified with runways and ports there. The USS Carl Vinson is a 1,092-foot-long U.S. reminder that these waters are not China's alone.
The effects of Washington's official withdrawal from the landmark U.S.-Russia treaty, which banned certain short and intermediate-range missiles, kicked in very quickly. Just one day after the announcement, the newly appointed Pentagon boss said he wanted American missiles somewhere in this part of the world.
It's fair to say, though, that we would like to deploy capabilities sooner rather than later. I would prefer months. I just don't have the latest state of play and timelines.
Russia realized something was cooking, and on Monday, President Putin had this to say.
If we receive verified information that the US has finished developing and started producing these systems, Russia will be forced to begin its own full-scale development of similar missiles.
In the build-up to this, Moscow kept saying that the collapse of the treaty would be dangerous, that it was all part of a bigger plan by Washington, that the Americans accused the Russian military of violations only to use them as a pretext for their own military expansion. Now that Uncle Sam's hands are untied. There you have it. The U.S. government jumped straight into action, and the Kremlin warning was quick to follow. If you started, we'll have to do it too.
Tonight we have exclusive new pictures of what appears to be an alarming new challenge to the United States and NATO from Russia's Vladimir Putin. The satellite pictures show a Russian military buildup in an important city on the Baltic Sea. Let's go to our senior international correspondent, Fred Plank, and he's joining us from Iceland right now, where he's the only U.S. network correspondent to get a close-up look at NATO military drills involving thousands of U.S. Marines. So, Fred, what is Putin up to?
Well, we're talking about Kaliningrad, where these upgrades are happening, Wolf. That's Russia's enclave right in the heart of NATO territory. But the U.S., of course, not sitting back and conducting those large-scale drills here in the North Atlantic region. We witnessed them here in Iceland. Here's what we saw. The USS Iwo Jima off the coast of Iceland. In the hangar deck, Marines gearing up for an air assault. Retaliation if there's an attack on a U.S. ally. Corporal Derek Hussinger is part of the invasion force.
When we get our gun situated, put that tripod down, set the gun up, and then be on a stable platform to give suppressing fire.
The exercise also a deterrent as the North Atlantic region becomes more contested. With this exercise, the U.S. and its allies are practicing their response in case a friendly nation gets attacked. While the adversary in this exercise is fictitious, it comes at a time of growing tensions between the U.S. and Russia. As the Marines race to the Icelandic coast, new evidence that Russia is beefing up its capabilities right in the heart of Europe. CNN has exclusively obtained satellite images from the Israeli firm ImageSat International, seemingly showing massive construction work at Russia's bases in Kaliningrad, upgrading a nuclear storage facility there, adding new, bigger ammunition bunkers, and upgrading the military airfield. Is Vladimir Putin building up his military in Kaliningrad? Russia's defense ministry didn't respond to CNN's request for information. But the commander of U.S. naval forces in Europe and Africa tells me there's a pattern of Russia upgrading its capabilities in the region.
They're putting a lot of their modern weapon systems, anti-ship cruise missiles, radars, the Bastion system, the S-300 and S-400 in there.
Sending a message of strength to Moscow, the U.S. and its NATO allies are gearing up for an even bigger exercise in Norway.
If they want to challenge us, we will challenge them. We're not going to be intimidated by those systems that are out there.
And that challenge is now playing out in the North Atlantic region, with an increasingly assertive Russia and the U.S. showing it won't back down.